My friend, life will always test what you truly believe. You can talk faith all day, but until your mind is under pressure, you'll never know how strong you are. Faith isn't just a belief in something unseen. It's the invisible steel that makes you mentally unbreakable when the storms of life come. The reason many people collapse under pressure is not because life is too heavy, but because their faith has no roots. When faith becomes the anchor of your mind, disappointment can't destroy you, rejection can't define you, and fear can't silence you. Today, I want to show you how faith in God builds a mind that cannot be broken no matter what life throws at you. Faith is not a feeling that comes and goes with your emotions. It is a conviction that stands even when everything else is falling apart. Faith doesn't deny the existence of a problem. It simply refuses to give that problem permission to control your peace. It redefines your reality. You may be standing in chaos, but faith will make you see order. You may be surrounded by darkness, but faith will help you see light when others only see fear. Faith gives you the ability to say, this is not how my story ends, even when the chapter you're in looks painful, uncertain, or empty. Think about it. Life is constantly testing what you believe. You lose your job, your plans collapse, people you trusted walk away, and the world expects you to crumble. But when faith lives inside you, you no longer respond like an ordinary person. You start to see meaning in the mess. You realize that what looks like an ending may actually be a divine beginning. Faith doesn't change what you see. It changes how you see. It teaches you to interpret failure as training, not tragedy. It whispers to your soul, something greater is forming out of this chaos. When someone without faith faces a challenge, they focus on the size of the problem. But when a person of faith faces that same challenge, they focus on the size of their God. One sees impossibility, the other sees opportunity. That's what makes faith so powerful. It doesn't remove the mountains, it changes the climber. It gives you new legs to walk on, a new heart to fight with, and a new mind to perceive reality differently. The mountain remains, but faith makes you stronger than the mountain. Take a simple example from daily life. Imagine a seed. When you put it in the soil, it looks buried. To the natural eye, it's finished, it's covered, it's gone. But to a person who understands growth, that burial is not death, it's development. That's faith. Faith sees beyond the dirt, beyond the dark, beyond the waiting. It says, I'm not buried, I'm planted. That one mindset shift is the difference between giving up and growing up. Faith teaches you that what looks like the end is often preparation for something greater. Many people spend their lives reacting to their circumstances instead of redefining them through faith. They wake up and allow their moods, news, or other people's opinions to dictate their peace. But faith refuses to hand over control of the mind to external situations. Faith says, my environment does not define me. My belief defines my environment. That's why when others see defeat, faith sees direction. When others see closed doors, faith sees redirection. When others see delay, faith sees development. Consider a woman who lost everything in her business. She had invested her time, her energy, her savings, and it all came crashing down. Most people would call it over, but she didn't. Instead of saying, this is my end, she said, this is where I learned to rebuild. She used her loss as a lesson, her pain as power, her tears as teaching. Within 2 years, she built something 10 times stronger because faith allowed her to see beyond what happened to what could still happen. That's what faith does. It redefines your failure as foundation for your future. When faith becomes the lens through which you view your life, nothing appears ordinary anymore. The same storm that sinks one person becomes the training ground for another. The same rejection that breaks one heart becomes the redirection that builds another destiny. Faith doesn't stop you from feeling pain, but it prevents pain from defining who you are. It says, yes, I cried, but I'm still standing. Yes, I felt, but I will rise again. That resilience doesn't come from motivation alone. It comes from faith that knows reality is bigger than what your eyes can see. In moments when you feel surrounded by problems, faith steps in like a whisper from within. Look again. You begin to notice that maybe the problem isn't punishment. Maybe it's preparation. Maybe the waiting season is not wasted. Maybe it's working something deep in you. Faith gives you spiritual vision, the ability to see promise inside of pressure, peace inside of chaos, and destiny inside of difficulty. That's why faith-driven people carry a quiet strength. They might not have all the answers, but they have an unshakable knowing that things will turn around for their good. Even in everyday life, in relationships, business, or health, faith changes how you approach challenges. When someone betrays you, faith helps you forgive without losing your peace. When the deal fails, faith helps you rest instead of rage. When the diagnosis comes, faith tells you, this is not the end, this is a new chapter of your testimony. It's not that faithful people don't feel pain, they just don't let pain dictate their direction. That's why people who live by faith often look calm in chaos. Others think they're in denial, but they're not. They simply know something others don't, that what's unseen is more powerful than what's seen. They understand that faith is not escaping reality, it's creating a new one. It's believing that every obstacle carries an opportunity, every loss carries a lesson, and every delay hides divine timing. When you walk by faith, you no longer see life as random events. You start to see patterns of purpose. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start saying, what is this trying to teach me? Faith turns every experience into education, every problem into progress. It gives you a mindset that cannot be manipulated by fear or defeated by failure. It makes you mentally unbreakable because you realize that your reality is not determined by circumstances, it's shaped by what you choose to believe about them. Faith builds something inside you that no storm can take away. Stability, it is the quiet power that keeps you standing when everything around you is shaking. People without faith are easily moved by what they see, what they hear, and what they feel. One bad day and their confidence crumbles. One rejection and their self-worth disappears. But a person of faith moves differently. They walk through chaos with calmness because they are anchored not in what they see, but in what they know. Faith gives you an internal balance that cannot be shaken by external pressure. You can always tell who walks by faith. They don't panic in storms. They may cry, they may hurt, but they don't fall apart. While others are shouting, what are we going to do? They quietly whisper, we're going to trust. Faith doesn't make life easy, but it makes you steady. It turns confusion into confidence. It allows you to smile in situations that used to break you because you've learned that no matter how bad it looks, you are not alone in it. Look around in daily life, everyone faces storms. A family loses their home, a student fails a crucial exam, a worker gets laid off unexpectedly. The difference between those who crumble and those who rise again is not intelligence or resources, it's faith. Faith acts like an anchor. You can't see it holding you, but you can feel it keeping you from drifting away. The winds blow, but you remain. The waves rise, but you don't sink. The situation shakes you, but it cannot uproot you because your faith has taken root deeper than fear. Think about a tree. When the wind comes, the branches bend, but the roots hold firm. Faith works the same way. The deeper your roots go into what you believe, the more flexible you become in times of pressure. You might bend, but you won't break. You might fall, but you won't fail. Because faith doesn't stop the wind, it strengthens the roots. Every hardship you survive makes your faith stronger. Every trial you endure deepens your stability. There are people who appear strong because they've never been tested, and there are those who are truly strong because they've been through storms and still believe. Faith doesn't give you a life without pain, it gives you peace in the middle of it. It's what allows you to say, I don't know how, but I know I will make it. It's what makes you wake up after losing everything and still have the courage to try again. Faith is what keeps your head lifted when everything around you tells you to give up. You see, mental stability is not about pretending that everything is fine. It's about trusting that even when it's not fine, something good can still come out of it. Faith gives you a sense of direction when the map has disappeared. It tells you, keep walking. Don't stop. There's something ahead. Without faith, people collapse under pressure because their stability depends on circumstances. But with faith, you can walk through storms and still sleep peacefully because you know who holds the storm. Faith trains your emotions to submit to your convictions. Your mind stops reacting to every small problem. You stop complaining and start trusting. You stop worrying and start working. When people with weak minds fall apart under small tests, the person with faith stands tall under big ones. Faith teaches you consistency. To keep believing even when you don't feel like it, to keep moving even when the path isn't clear, to keep loving even when people hurt you. That's inner stability, doing right even when you don't see results yet. Daily life is filled with situations that try to shake your stability, a sudden argument, an unexpected bill, a difficult coworker. Faith doesn't remove those things, it teaches you how to respond to them differently. Instead of reacting with fear, you respond with patience. Instead of speaking doubt, you declare confidence. Instead of losing control, you stay calm. That's not weakness, that's mastery. Faith gives you the ability to master your emotions instead of letting your emotions master you. Have you ever met someone who, no matter what happens, always has peace? They might have just lost their job, yet they talk about the next opportunity. They might be going through sickness, yet they keep encouraging others. They've learned that peace is not the absence of storms, it's the presence of faith. Faith stabilizes the mind. It tells you you can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. And that's where true power lies. Faith also stabilizes your identity. People without faith constantly seek validation from others because they have no internal anchor. The moment people stop clapping, they lose confidence. But when you live by faith, your worth is not up for debate. You stop performing for approval and start living from purpose. You stop asking, do they believe in me? And start declaring, I believe in what's inside me. That confidence doesn't come from ego, it comes from faith. Imagine someone building a house on sand. It might look beautiful at first, but when the storm hits, it collapses because the foundation was weak. Now imagine another person building on rock. The rain can come, the rain can pour, but the structure stands. That's the difference between living by sight and living by faith. One looks secure until trouble comes, the other looks ordinary but endures everything. Faith is that rock. It doesn't promise the storm won't come, but it guarantees you'll still be standing when it's over. Faith doesn't always change your situation immediately, but it changes your posture in it. You start walking differently, talking differently, thinking differently. Instead of saying, why me? You start saying, try me. You realize that challenges don't come to destroy you, but to strengthen the stability within you. Every delay becomes a training ground, every disappointment a test of endurance, every setback a setup for something greater. There is a calmness that comes when you know everything will eventually work together for your good. That calmness is not naivety, it's wisdom. It's faith maturing inside you. It's what allows you to go through battles without losing your joy. It's what makes people wonder how you can smile while carrying so much weight. Faith is the silent force behind that peace. It's the invisible hand that holds you together when everything else is falling apart. When faith builds inner stability, you no longer need everything around you to be perfect before you feel secure. You could be in the middle of uncertainty and still say, I am at peace. You could have unanswered questions and still move forward because faith has built something inside you that no loss can destroy. A stability that endures, a peace that surpasses understanding, and a strength that refuses to break. Faith is not just believing that something will happen. It's training your mind to stay focused when everything around you screams otherwise. Faith activates discipline, a mental toughness that refuses to surrender when life gets hard. It teaches you that emotions are temporary, but decisions built on faith are eternal. When you have faith, you stop reacting to life impulsively. You begin to think differently, speak differently, and act with purpose. Faith builds a structure inside your mind that fear cannot invade. It shapes your thoughts, your habits, and your choices until you become a living example of endurance and strength. Every great breakthrough begins with mental discipline. You can't build anything lasting with a scattered mind. Faith gives you focus. It trains you to silence distractions, to keep your eyes on what you believe even when the evidence is missing. Faith says, I don't need to see it to stay consistent. Most people give up because they let their feelings lead their faith. They wake up tired and call it failure. They meet resistance and call it a sign to quit. But faith doesn't work that way. Faith leads your feelings. It commands your emotions instead of being commanded by them. You can see this in daily life. Think of an athlete preparing for a marathon. Every morning they get up before sunrise, running in the cold, pushing through soreness, training their body even when it hurts. They don't train because they feel good. They train because they believe they will finish strong. That's how faith works. It trains your mind the same way. It says, I may not see the result yet, but I will keep showing up. When faith becomes your mental coach, you stop looking for comfort and start building character. Faith disciplines your thoughts because what you think determines what you become. It's impossible to live a positive life with a negative mindset. Faith filters your thoughts, allowing only those that align with purpose to stay. When doubt tries to whisper, you can't do this, faith answers, I was built for this. When fear says, what if it doesn't work? Faith says, what if it does? This mental dialogue shapes who you become. You stop feeding the voice of fear and start amplifying the voice of faith. Over time, your thoughts become your strength, not your weakness. Look at people who achieve extraordinary things. They're not necessarily the smartest, they're the most disciplined. They've trained their minds to keep believing when it would have been easier to quit. Faith is the fuel behind that discipline. It gives you the courage to stay committed to the process. It tells you, don't let your mood decide your moves. Every time you choose consistency over comfort, you are walking in faith. Every time you say no to fear and yes to purpose, you're building mental discipline. Daily life will always present distractions, negativity, anxiety, temptation, comparison. Faith keeps your focus locked on the goal. When everyone else is complaining, you're still working. When others are doubting, you're still believing. Faith gives you tunnel vision toward your purpose. You stop chasing instant gratification and start investing in long-term growth. Faith makes you understand that success doesn't come from emotion, it comes from discipline. Have you ever noticed how chaos multiplies when your mind is undisciplined? One small problem turns into 10 because your thoughts run wild. Faith stops that cycle. It tells your mind, be still. Faith teaches you to pause before reacting, to breathe before speaking, to think before quitting. It transforms your reactions into responses, your fears into fuel. The more you practice faith, the stronger your mental control becomes. Imagine a sailor in a storm. The waves are high, the wind is violent, but the sailor keeps his hands on the wheel. He can't control the sea, but he can control the ship. That's what faith does. It keeps your hands steady on the wheel of your mind. The storm doesn't scare you anymore because your focus is fixed. You realize the power was never in the storm, it was in your response to it. Faith gives you that calm, commanding authority over your thoughts. When faith activates discipline, procrastination dies. Fear loses its power. Doubt becomes a motivator instead of a master. You start speaking differently. No more, I can't, but I will. No more, maybe later, but now. You train your mind to align with what you believe instead of what you feel. The person who learns to discipline their mind through faith becomes unstoppable. Faith also builds emotional discipline. It teaches you to remain calm when others panic, to stay kind when others are cruel, to stay peaceful when chaos surrounds you. This isn't weakness, it's mastery. Faith says, I will not let external noise control my internal peace. You begin to understand that mental strength isn't loud, it's silent, focused, and unmovable. Even in simple, everyday moments, faith-driven discipline shines. When you choose gratitude over complaining, that's faith. When you decide to keep showing up to your goals after failure, that's faith. When you refuse to let fear of the unknown stop you from taking the next step, that's faith. It's not dramatic, but it's powerful, small, consistent acts of belief that shape your destiny. Faith gives you an inner rhythm, a discipline that keeps you in motion even when motivation runs out. Motivation is a spark. Faith is the fire that keeps burning. It reminds you that progress is built on persistence, not perfection. Every step, every effort, every prayer, every moment of endurance strengthens your mental foundation. The reason some people never reach their potential is not because they lack faith. It's because they lack the discipline to protect that faith. They let distractions steal their attention, negative voices drown out their purpose, and emotions sabotage their focus. But the one who trains their mind through faith becomes a fortress. Their thoughts no longer wander, their focus no longer flickers. They build a system of belief so strong that doubt can visit but can't stay. Faith-activated discipline is the highest form of freedom. When your mind is disciplined by faith, you no longer chase every emotion or opinion. You move with clarity, power, and peace. You understand that not every thought deserves attention. Not every voice deserves response. Not every problem deserves panic. You start living intentionally, purposefully, and powerfully. Faith becomes the compass that directs your mind, and your mind becomes the instrument that manifests your destiny. Faith has a mysterious way of turning what was meant to break you into the very thing that builds you. It transforms pain into power. It takes the deepest wounds and turns them into wisdom. It takes your tears and turns them into strength. The people who shine the brightest are not those who avoided pain, but those who allowed faith to use it as fuel. When you walk through the valley of disappointment, faith whispers, keep walking, there's purpose ahead. Pain without faith makes you bitter, but pain with faith makes you better. Faith doesn't erase what hurt you, it redefines it. It turns the question, why me, into what is this teaching me? And that one shift changes everything about how you see your life. Everyone in this world has gone through something that tried to destroy them: betrayal, loss, rejection, failure. Some people never recover because they focus on the pain more than the purpose. But the ones who walk by faith don't see pain as punishment, they see it as preparation. Faith helps you understand that the fire you went through wasn't there to burn you, it was there to reveal what's indestructible within you. You are stronger than you realize, and sometimes it takes pain to expose that hidden power. The same thing that others said would finish you becomes the proof that you cannot be finished. Take a simple daily example. Imagine a seed again. It's buried, pressed under the weight of the soil, surrounded by darkness. It's uncomfortable, it's silent, it's unseen. To the seed, it feels like death. But what looks like burial is actually the beginning of life. That's what pain is like when faith is present. Pain buries you for a season so that something greater can grow out of you. Without pressure, the seed never breaks open. Without breaking, it never releases life. So when life breaks you, faith reminds you that something powerful is trying to emerge. You are not breaking down, you are breaking open. There's a story being written in every scar. Every disappointment carries a message. Faith gives you eyes to read it. That heartbreak that once made you question your worth, faith uses it to teach you self-respect. That job loss that left you feeling empty, faith turns it into the push that made you start your own business. That rejection that hurt your soul, faith transforms it into redirection toward your real purpose. Faith doesn't waste pain, it recycles it into power. Every tear that fell was watering something you couldn't see yet. Every sleepless night was preparing a stronger version of you to wake up. Most people want power without pain, growth without pressure, testimony without test. But life doesn't work that way. Diamonds are only created under extreme heat and pressure. Gold is refined by fire. Muscles only grow when they are torn and repaired. The same principle applies to your mind and your faith. Every challenge you face is a spiritual gym. Resistance builds strength. Faith trains you to see that pain is not the end. It's evidence that transformation is in progress. When you hurt, you're being stretched. When you're stretched, you're being strengthened. Pain is a teacher that few want to listen to, but those who do gain unshakable wisdom. Faith is what allows you to sit in the classroom of pain without losing hope. You learn that rejection is redirection, that loss clears the path for gain, that endings make room for new beginnings. You stop cursing the struggle and start blessing the growth it produces. Faith doesn't make the pain disappear. It gives it meaning. It shows you that suffering is not a sign of weakness. It's the birthplace of power. In everyday life, you can see this truth. A mother who fought through tears and hardship to raise her children learns a level of resilience that no book could teach. A person who battled illness develops compassion for others who suffer. A man who failed in business learns how to lead with humility and strength when he tries again. None of that wisdom came from comfort. It came from pain transformed by faith. The struggle introduced them to a stronger version of themselves. Faith also changes your language in moments of pain. Instead of saying, I'm broken, you start saying, I'm being rebuilt. Instead of, I lost everything, you start saying, I'm making room for something new. Faith gives your pain a voice that speaks victory. It teaches you to talk like someone who expects redemption, not destruction. That's why faith-filled people confuse others. They praise through problems, smile through tears, and keep walking when others would quit. They've discovered that pain is temporary, but the power it produces is permanent. Even in small daily moments, faith turns pain into progress. When someone insults you, faith helps you grow thicker skin instead of a harder heart. When plans fall apart, faith helps you trust that better plans are unfolding. When you're betrayed, faith gives you the courage to love again without bitterness. It doesn't deny what happened. It simply refuses to let pain become the author of your story. Faith takes the pen back and writes something greater. Every challenge you've survived is proof of what faith can do. Look back at the nights you thought you wouldn't make it, and yet here you are, wiser, stronger, calmer. That's the power of transformation through pain. Faith doesn't promise that you'll never cry, but it promises that every tear will count for something. It promises that what tried to destroy you will one day empower you. The pain that once made you weak will become the testimony that makes others strong. Faith doesn't allow pain to define you. It allows pain to refine you until you become unstoppable. There comes a moment in every person's life when you must decide who you will become, the broken version of yourself or the unbreakable one that rises from the ashes. Faith is not just something you talk about. It's something you live, something you breathe, something that transforms every battle into a building block for your destiny. You were never meant to live defeated. You were meant to live determined. You were never designed to crawl through life. You were built to conquer it. The storms you faced were never sent to drown you. They were sent to teach you how to walk on waves. Every time life tried to bury you, faith whispered, you're a seed. Grow from here. The truth is, no one gets through life without scars, but faith makes sure your scars tell a story of survival, not surrender. You've been through too much to quit now. The pain you felt was not wasted. The tears you cried were not unnoticed. Every struggle has been shaping the strength that now lives in you. The next time life hits you hard, don't ask, why me? Ask, what is this trying to show me? You have to remember that every delay is divine direction, every rejection is redirection, and every setback is simply a setup for a comeback. Faith never fails. It just finishes differently than you expected. You are not the same person you were before the storm. You've seen too much, learned too much, grown too much. Faith has matured your mind, built your backbone, and elevated your endurance. You are not fragile, you are fortified. The battles you fought in private are preparing you to stand strong in public. So don't be ashamed of your scars. They are proof that what was meant to destroy you only developed you. Every scar is a signature of survival, a mark that says, I'm still here. There will be days when your faith feels small, when the world feels heavy, and your mind whispers, you can't take another step. But that's when you remind yourself, even mustard seed faith moves mountains. Even a whisper of belief can silence a scream of doubt. Don't wait for perfect conditions to believe. Believe until conditions become perfect. Faith is not about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain, to praise while it's painful, to trust while it's dark. That's how unbreakable minds are made, not in sunshine, but in struggle. You have to look at yourself and declare, I am not defined by what happened to me. I am defined by how I responded to it. You may have been betrayed, but you're still blessed. You may have lost something, but you've gained wisdom. You may have fallen, but you're still chosen for greatness. Faith doesn't ask you to have all the answers. It just asks you to take the next step. One decision of faith can change your entire direction. One act of courage can unlock doors that fear kept closed for years. Never forget, pressure doesn't break you, it reveals you. Diamonds are made under pressure. Warriors are born in war, and leaders are formed in the fire. Stop running from the pressure. Start recognizing it as proof that you're carrying something valuable. The weight you feel is not punishment, it's purpose. The burden you carry is not a curse, it's a calling. Faith gives you the strength to handle what others can and to stand tall when others fall apart. So keep your head high, even when the world tries to push you down. Speak life when others speak fear. Walk tall when others crawl in worry. You are not just surviving, you are rising. You are not just existing, you are evolving. Faith has already given you what it takes to outlast every obstacle and outgrow every limitation. The same fire that once threatened to destroy you will one day light your path. And when people look at you and ask, how did you make it? You'll smile and say, I didn't. Faith carried me. You'll realize that the greatest miracle was not that the storm ended, but that you endured it and came out stronger. You'll realize that the pain that once made you question everything became the proof that you could handle anything. So stand tall, stand proud. Let your faith roar louder than your fears. You've cried, you've fought, you've endured, now rise. Because you, my friend, are not just a survivor. You are living proof that faith makes the mind unbreakable, the heart unstoppable, and the spirit undefeatable. Keep believing, keep building, keep becoming, because your faith was never meant to make you comfortable. It was meant to make you powerful.